Hey everybody, welcome to week 10, episode 10 of the hashtag Unite Kindness campaign presented in partnership with Global Dignity and MC2 and Athletic Rewards. Of course, those that have tuned in and are tuning in new today, I am the founder of Athletic Rewards, and I'm really proud to present to you today on Tuesday, July the 14th, the founder of ROC Multisport, which is a great coaching program for triathletes, and also amateur into professional triathlete Lizzie Nyitray. I'm going to get Ken Lubin, of course, of Executive Athletes, to take over here as the MC to get you guys the story behind Lizzie and what she is doing during these incredible times that we've been going through of the pandemic, of what she's doing as a coach, but also as an athlete. So Mike, over to you, Ken.
Thanks, Angela, and Lizzie. Welcome to this episode today. It's great to have you on board.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And we have to add, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't do this in the intro plan. Today, everybody, is Lizzie's birthday, just so everybody knows. Hands down, happy birthday, Lizzie.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You take it when you can get it, right?
Yeah.
We're all getting old, so, you know. But anyway, so, and again, welcome to this episode. Really appreciate it. But, you know, one of the things that Angela talked about in the intro is that you are an amateur athlete trying to go after professional status. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, I was an amateur athlete. I've been racing professionally now for 2 years.
Nice.
Yeah, this would have been my 3rd year racing professionally.
Amateur to pro, exactly. Super
Yeah,
cool.
so I still would say I'm like an amateur pro. Like, I don't think I've really figured out the whole how to race in the professional category yet, but the 2 years that I've been there have been really eye-opening and a pretty incredible experience overall. And definitely I have a lot to learn still, and I've definitely learned a whole lot in those 2 years.
And talk to us about training during this time, right, of social distancing. You're down in Atlanta, and obviously there's been a sort of a resurgence of COVID down there. Talk to us about training as a professional athlete during these interesting times.
It's definitely been interesting. I would say triathletes are, we kind of are okay with going out. Like, our training program says something, we go out and get it done if we have to by ourselves, and keep going. But I have definitely felt the effects of like wanting to get together with certain friends and not being sure if I should, because I'm not sure if I'm being socially responsible, or even I'm lucky that my gym has an outdoor pool, but I'm like afraid to go up and lift weights because I feel like I'm not being socially responsible, especially with the resurgence of COVID recently. So it's been, you question yourself a lot more, like, am I being selfish in going out and doing this because I'm meeting up with my training buddy who I see almost every day and is part of my quarantine family? Or am I okay doing this because this is kind of like what's keeping me sane right now at the time? So I'd say it's a tough call for everybody, and it's definitely been interesting trying to figure out what is okay and what is kind of like pushing the COVID boundary a little bit too far.
And in addition to being an athlete, you're a coach as well. How are some of your clients dealing with this during this epidemic, pandemic, COVID, you know, the times that we have going on?
That definitely has been the biggest adventure. Luckily, we've found ways to work around it as a group, but I would say, like, in the beginning, back in March, when like it was like race canceled, pools closed, another race canceled, different pool closed, like everything within a period of 2 weeks changed for every person's life. That it required a lot of creativity on my part as a coach and a lot of flexibility on my athletes' part. And luckily, I think my group of athletes has really adapted well to it after some like recalculation and recalibration, and they've taken it with stride. Everybody reacts to it differently, obviously, and at different times. Like there were multiple breakdowns about races being canceled, and I think in the end, once we kind of regrouped and figured out what was going on, it's a really good opportunity for us as athletes to figure out how to live in the moment. Triathletes especially can be very like OCD, hyper obsessive about planning and making sure everything is like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So to be forced to kind of live day to day and only focus on the day that's ahead of us, I think is a really great skill for everyone, no matter who you or what you are, even if you're not an athlete, but especially for athletes who in a race or in a training, almost nothing ever goes 100% to plan. So we always have to figure out how to live in that moment and either take the best from it or problem solve or come up with something right on like something came up. Okay, how do we solve it? All right, boom, and we keep going. So it's been definitely a challenge, but I think it's also been kind of a blessing in disguise.
And what about athletes that, like you said earlier, there are a couple of breakdowns with events, right? How are they staying motivated to train through the no event season? How are you handling that, and how are they handling that?
Lots of different ways. One thing that I found, especially with the like political and social turmoil that we're currently experiencing in the US, that's kind of like especially in Atlanta, like there's the underlying layer of the pandemic, and then on top of that there's another layer of like feeling this uneasiness about the issues that are finally coming to the forefront about race and identity in the US. So I think that we in my group have had to address both and really like let people know where we stand on that, but we've been able to kind of push it in the positive light of saying, all right, we're a very diverse group of athletes and we want to support diversity, so let's make something positive from this. So my athletes actually kind of organically have come together and come up with different ways to challenge themselves and challenge each other as a group. So to give you some examples, we as a group completed an ultra distance triathlon as relay style. So we took one weekend and everybody contributed some kilometers swimming, biking, or running to this event, and everybody kind of reported in with their training. So I think, at least for me as an athlete, half of what I get from a race is just the community aspect, like seeing people I haven't seen in years or seeing my friends and being able to share a weekend of pushing myself to limits with them. So I think we are able to kind of like grab that community aspect from racing and bring it, even though it's virtually because my athletes are all over the world, bring it to my group of athletes and kind of like, I think it's been an awesome opportunity to build community. And in building community and having these events that really like, we don't get finisher medals for, we don't get prize money for, but we get the community aspect together, working together towards something, and having the opportunity to push ourselves. I think that's been one of the best ways we've been able to kind of manage it and work around the raceless season. And then another thing I always just stress with my athletes is I say this all the time and my athletes always make fun of me for it, is like I'll put a really hard training at the end, put enjoy, because I think that like if you're not enjoying the training, then that's like 98% of your year in training and racing, or 95% of your year is the training. So if you're not enjoying that component, then we need to figure out what to do to make you, or to help you to enjoy it. So I think focusing on the enjoyment that we get from training, and really like, what are the non-tangibles that come out of training and racing. That's also been another way that we're working on managing the pandemic anxiety.
No, and I love what you just said is about the enjoyment of it, right? I think if people aren't enjoying the training and enjoying the process, then the end result's not going to be fun either. How do you get people to enjoy the process, right? Or enjoy the training?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think about that for a second. Well, I mean, modeling it and enjoying.
They don't have to.
She just makes them go out and do a lot of hard drills when it's really, really hot, and then the next does
right.
it. So that all of a sudden you just realize the workout before was like, wow, like today I really enjoyed. It wasn't.
Exactly. I just
Exactly.
drill my athletes into the ground.
Yeah. And then it's like running into the wall. Keep hanging against your head against the wall, right?
Yeah. I personally really enjoy training. So I think that kind of just like modeling it in and of itself, and then kind of always keeping it fresh. So I'm trying to always come up with, even if it's like I want my athletes to get a VO2 workout in, I'll try and come up with a different way to do that VO2 workout rather than putting in the same like 3 by 3 minutes at VO2 max effort or something, you know. So I think keeping it fresh, and then allowing the athletes to tell me what they want or tell me what they need, and listening to that and working with that, I think is basically the best way to get them to actually enjoy the training. On top of that, I just have an awesome group of athletes too, so they go along with my crazy.
It might be neat, Ken, you know, and I'll jump in, but I'd be curious because yeah, I know Lizzie has athletes that are all over. Perhaps Lizzie, maybe you want to highlight for others that are viewing, you know, again, like promoting ROC Multisport like that you've built, you know, kind of sharing that even before COVID, like you were already coaching athletes that were not necessarily in the state of Atlanta. Like you have athletes that are everywhere. Perhaps like share your experience of like, you know, online, like, you know, the number of athletes that you've been able to maintain and balance as a small business owner at the same time as keeping your own training up and being motivated, right? Like, I think it's kind of neat because what it shows is there's the ability to offer other people that might be interested in your services. If they're not, you know, like a lot of people go, oh, I need to actually meet my coach. I always find it interesting when people go, oh yeah, like my coach is in San Diego and I'm in Ottawa for cycling, right? So like I don't need to see him, he doesn't need to ride next to me. So I think it'd be neat for you to share, you know, how many athletes you've been able to maintain. Are you taking on more athletes now? So we can promote you a little bit too, because there might be some other athletes that are out there right now, you know, trying to navigate, like maybe they are interested in getting into triathlon. And this is a really good time as we start to see, especially in Canada and the US, slowly in different areas, outdoor swimming pools. And of course it's summer, so lakes are open. You know, potentially people can try, you know, try the running and the swimming and the biking. And that might be something that they actually fall in love with for the first time, right? And having a coach makes all the world of difference to welcoming somebody to it. So yeah, you know, share a little bit about the athletes that you have, you know, what's the percentage that you would say you are doing online and they don't even live in the state that you're in, and you've been coaching them online, and what does it look like if you're accepting new applicants? Because yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome, thank you. I actually have athletes in the Dominican Republic. I've had athletes in Costa Rica and Italy and Spain, all over the US. So I think the biggest part of online coaching, or the most important part for me, is maintaining communication with my athletes. I try and make sure I'm checking in with them multiple times, and hearing about their lives as much as hearing about their training, so that we can really adjust the training to their lives. And I am taking on more athletes if anyone would like to get into triathlons, or if anyone's looking for a coach. As an athlete and a coach, I also have a coach, so I do believe strongly in the power of coaching. I think it avoids a lot of decision fatigue in terms of if you're just following a random training program that you find online, and it starts to storm one day and you're not sure how to adjust the program, or the program's not personalized to your lifestyle or to your time demands, then it can be difficult to get into triathlon because you feel kind of like lost. So I think a coach really helps to kind of steer you in the direction. I always say, like, the training should flow with your life. So if the training is something that's like taking up all of your time and energy, or if it's something that is taking you away from family or away from things that you like to do outside of training or work, then something needs to be adjusted. So if I have a website, which is rocmultisport.com, ROC Multisport.com. The ROC is for running, open water swimming, and cycling. So I also work with runners, cyclists, people that want to get into swimming. I've taught some adults how to swim, as well as little kids. But so if anyone is interested in that, technology nowadays allows us to communicate all over the world. So we can work through video, and through video calls, obviously. So I would be happy to accept new athletes, and
Great.
Open to taking any questions about coaching as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, and I think, like what we do with the Unite Kindness campaign is every single week, and Ken knows as well, is that we post and share obviously who the guest is that we had, and promote what their company is about and themselves. So we will definitely be sharing on our Facebook wall and on our landing page links to ROC Multisport. So for the next week, we'll be highlighting your bio and obviously what you're doing, so people can tune in and they can go back to watch this episode and also check in. So you can share that also with people in your network. And hopefully we can get you some new people that are interested and curious. Because as you said, like, coaches and coaches, right? Like, it's kind of like mentors and mentees. We all need them. So I attest by that. None of us are perfect, and it's always nice to have somebody who you lean on to a degree, right? And have them as that advisor, or somebody that you can in essence, like, talk about your training, because and somebody who has some expertise, because we don't know everything. And I think especially during times like this, where just that extra added motivation, right, Ken? Because I know you're big into working out. Sometimes having that extra push by having somebody go get into the garage, start throwing the weights around, get the workout in. It means a lot. So I think, especially as we start to see things slowly start to open back up, hopefully in 2021, we know it's going to be a different race season in 2021, without a doubt. So hopefully, by 2022, we'll start to see, especially in the world of triathlon, because numbers are lower. And I know great organizations, and you're probably following what Ironman and Challenge Series, like some of these major organizations are doing, like Mark Waugh, who was on last week's episode. He was talking about, like, we are going to start to see triathlons that have 200 or less athletes, or 2,000 or less athletes, because they've been able to put the safety protocols in place, versus these mass, like, stadiums full of fans and spectators. To be honest, which is exciting, I think, for us as people that are into triathlon and cycling, the sports that per se might not have had as much attention might actually be the ones that come out of this with a little bit more zest. Like, we've seen bikes being sold out, right? Like, you can't get a bike if you want a kid's bike you can't get kettlebells fast enough because they're going off the shelf. So obviously people are very interested on staying fit at their house, whether they're doing the multi-sport type of training or they're just picking up running or triathlon. So Ken, do you have any other questions for Lizzie that you think we should highlight for today's episode?
No, Lizzie, it was just an honor to have you on. What you're doing is awesome in a difficult time. Just keep up the good work and make sure, you know, everyone that's listening, just go out there and crush it. And like Lizzie said, just push through it. So, and enjoy the push. That's the most important piece.
Yes. Enjoy. In Spanish, it's disfrútalo. And my athletes will always make fun of me for saying disfrútalo all the time. So.
That's amazing. So yeah, so I guess for those that are tuning in and those that are watching, obviously check out the virtual campaign, #UniteKindness. And if you want more information, we'll be sharing Lizzie Nytray's or Elizabeth Nytray's company, ROC Multisport, and the URL that you can go to if you have any questions. Obviously, it's pretty easy to tell you're quite a vivacious, outgoing, personal, passionate individual that really cares about the sport, Lizzie. So, you know, on behalf of Ken and myself and my partners, Global Dignity MC2, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And, you know, yeah, make sure to spread the word, Unite Kindness, hashtag. People can upload their photos while they're training this week. We'd love to see some photos coming out of the Dominican Republic and Italy and Spain. I think, you know, obviously you've seen foremost, because obviously athletes in Italy and Spain were deeply impacted and really locked into their apartments for the first bit of when this pandemic hit. So yeah, we're here to, you know, bring some positive stories forward. And again, I think on a highlight to end today's episode, you have yourself an incredible birthday ahead for the rest of the afternoon and evening.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to be with both of you.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much. And we'll check in next week for episode 11. Thanks for joining today. And we'll talk soon. Thanks, Lizzie. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Bye.